Well, somewhere about the middle of that year, that first year, National Hill had decided that they would establish a Hillel Foundation at the University of Chicago. And, involved in the establishment was Rabbi Solomon Goldman of Anshe Emmett, and a man by the name of Isaac Wagner, who was a regional head, or very important man in B'nai B'rith. And the two of them decided to approach a man by the name of Pekarskys, who was seeking to memorialize his son who was killed in the war.
Did you or Maurice know these people before? Solomon Goldman or
Well,
Mr.?
Maurice knew. Oh yes, I knew Goldman through
That's what I thought.
through the Zionist organization, of course. I didn't know Wagner.
Yeah.
And they prevailed upon Pekarskys to buy a building at 5750 in South Woodlawn, and it was to be known as the Raymond Pekarskys house.
And the portrait? When did that come in? The portrait.
Oh, yes. The only condition that the Pekarskys made was that the son's portrait was to hang in the living room, and
which it does.
to this day, I'm still on the executive committee. I watch over that promise.
In uniform.
Yes, in its uniform, and
Sits there.
lots of changes. The establishment itself has a different name today, but it's
The portrait?
the Raymond Pekarskys memorial there.
So he bought them a house, a home.
Bought the house, and then there came the fixing it up process and preparing it for a grand opening, and so that took place in 44. I remember we moved to Chicago, to Hyde Park in September, or the summer, I guess it
44.
was, of 44, because Davida was at that
Baby.
point 6 months old.
Was that a hard move, no?
Well, I had the same problem once I got used to the small community. I wondered, how in the world will I ever adjust to live in this big town now? I mean, I loved it in Evanston, loved the closeness of it.
And you'd seen it build from so
Sure.
little to so much.
Oh, sure.
Been part of it.
And
And made friends.
so I worried about that part of it again, but okay, that passed.
And it was just to the other end of the city. So.
And it was a very sympathetic
Okay.
dedication with all the important people from B'nai B'rith and from the university and from the community, and it was
Quite
we
an
were
occasion.
established.
Was a great
So we were established.
40.
Okay. Now let me tell you what Hyde Park
Was like.
was like.
Yes. I was waiting.
We got an apartment at 851 Drexel Square. I forgot, 951? No, I think it was 851, 855. It was a sixth flat. There were no blacks in Hyde Park. Remember, this is not so long ago. In midsummer 1944, there were no blacks in Hyde Park. And think about that. Today, when the population in Hyde Park is pretty much 50-50.
50 years ago. 94
But
to
then-
44.
So while we were there, about a year, one day the doorbell rings, and it's a Jewish man by the name of Goldberg or something like that. And he said he just wanted to announce to us that he had bought this building and that all of the renters would have to move.
Oh, goodness.
Now, there was a law, since it was wartime, and big problems with renting.
With renting.
The law was that no one could be removed from an apartment unless it was for the purpose of an owner wanting to take possession. And then it was that we discovered that this Jewish Goldberg or Cole, whatever it was the shadow man who had bought it on behalf of 6 blacks who bought it as a condo, and all of them wanted to take possession. And that was when the inundation of blacks to Hyde Park happened around our apartment.
Sipur.
You know, it's hard to contemplate that even at the time. And no one had to be reminded to get out, because since blacks were coming, people were not ready to live with blacks out there. They ran to South Shore, and that whole block between Drexel Square across from the park down to Cottage, within a few months, it had changed totally. People had just run. Now, the only people who couldn't get out were the Pekarskys. And the reason was that we wanted to and had to stay in Hyde Park because we had to be close to the foundation.
Of course.
And we could not find a place to rent. There were no places available. And we had all kinds of people working for us to look. And one person came through, a friend, and that was Rabbi Loevy. And he heard a Jewish family, I guess they must have been parishioners, who were moving out of 5137 Ellis Avenue, close by.
Yeah.
And the mortgage was owned by the First National Bank. So Dr. Mann phoned his man at the bank, and he said, I know that apartment is going to be available, and I want it for my friend, Rabbi Pekarsky, and I want to tell you, if you don't give it to us, I'm going to withdraw 3 accounts from the bank.
Nice and direct.
P.S. We got the apartment. Well, there was a date set for